Hey guys, it's Jimmy here and welcome to an Assetto Corsa video. This time we're looking at the Dream Packed DLC that came out earlier today. I've been playing with it and the footage you're watching now is pre-recorded. It's me in the Alfa Romeo GTA other specification I can't think of. And what I'm going to be doing is talking about some of the cars I enjoyed. I've got 6 cars lined up, so you're going to get 2 laps of the cars I actually enjoyed driving. And sort of my opinion on everything that's happening now. So like I said, we're in the Alfa Romeo GTA and something that I sort of expected to turn up in the Assetto Corsa at one point or another, basically because it's one of those cars that are very, very popular amongst car lovers, and it's a car I actually drove a lot in Historics and R Factor, so I was pretty keen to get into this and see what it would be like. You're getting me on board now. I've got it on, I've recorded it separately so you guys can hear the sounds better, etc. So that's what I've done here. And the sounds aren't too bad. The sounds are the first thing that I pretty much always talk about in a sim, probably wrongly, but it's something that I like, and they aren't bad. They could be better, but that's pretty much every sound in Kunos summed up in a sentence. But yeah, physics-wise, it's pretty rad, very floaty as you kind of expect it to be, and in the right circumstance, if you go into a corner a bit too hot, you actually pick up one of the front wheels and go free-wheeled. It's pretty damn entertaining. I think at some point here I make a bit of a mistake and try and shift for 6, but we'll forget that happened. And yeah, I got to say, in this car the full seat back does load up pretty nicely. I was actually quite surprised in how decent the full seat back was and how it felt, this car. Especially as I'm kind of used to a bit of a documented Assetto Corsa unsupporter, if that makes sense. I'm not really a fan of Assetto Corsa usually, but I thought I'd get the Dream Pack because of 1, the Nordschleife, which I'm going to talk about at the end. I'm going to try and get to the cars first, and 2, it has some pretty sweet cars in it, including this one. You can see sort of storing the wheel there. Very wallery at the front and very entertaining. Also, this is the first video that I put up where I've been using the brake basher mod, as well as a little adjustment to my throttle pedal, so there are some interesting braking points and interesting throttle inputs here, but that's to be expected when you're getting used to something. But you see it kind of flying down the hill now, and the Nordschleife, it's like the same track, but different, if that makes any sense. Obviously, bear in mind, I know all the corners from before on other sims, but as I get a little bit sideways there, but it's very different. It's like going back to an old friend after not seeing them for a couple of years, and it is an improvement, but it's not really. It goes without saying, really, for the money you're paying. The car does look pretty nice as well, both in exterior and interior. You're only going to see the interior because I only did the interior there. And something I love about Assetto Corsa and what they've done. They put the corner names in the top left there. It's very helpful. People getting to learn tracks and getting the idea of where they are on the track. And it's just a nice little touch. You can tell love's gone into this, which is sort of rare in a sim. And I think Assetto Corsa does have plenty of that behind it. Very passionate team of developers, and it's very cliche to say that, I guess, with with Italians, but definitely awesome. I think now we're going to be switching over to the next car, which is the Alfa Romeo touring car, the 155. And we transition flawlessly into the Alfa Romeo 155 DTM touring car. Fantastic car to look at, that's for sure. Very awesomely rendered by Kunos, so kudos there to them. Good guys, good job. And yeah, a car that I was really looking forward to. I'm really into this sort of era of DTM, this big blocky cars. You've got the you've got the Calibra, the Alfa Romeo here, and very famous rivalry between them. Very awesome to have at least one of them in a sim. But there are a couple of things that I thought they fell short anyway. The sounds are pretty decent, and they're pretty actually quite close to real life. I looked up a couple of videos just to make sure, is this how the car sounds? And yeah, it is. A little bit less, a little bit more distortion in the videos online, but I think that sort of adds to that sort of thing, especially in racing cars. So I would have liked to have seen that in this car. Had a very odd handling tendencies. I found had a very odd sort of understeer that was really strange. It didn't feel like I expected it. It felt like going through treacle sometimes. I guess that's a good way of putting it. And that's how the steering sort of felt. It didn't quite load up as nicely as the Alfa GTA did. This sort of has a very snappy feel to it. You can see now kind of coming up the Kessel Shen there. There you go, as I'm using the top left to my advantage. And the wheel's sort of doing a very odd shaky thing. And I found that maybe it's my settings, maybe it's incorrect, but it's not something that I came to grips with. it is a it's not a bad car, but I think that maybe I need to dial in the settings properly, because I drove everything on default setup apart from gears, because I wanted just to get a kind of stock feel for the car. And the Nordschleife isn't a good example of that, as you can see, using my initiative there and using the wall to slow down is a very clever race driving move. And this is the first time for the carousel, which is very odd to go through, and I think I messed it up completely. Yes, I did. No, I did okay. No, I didn't. I did awfully. But yeah, I was sort of underwhelmed by this car. I expected a bit more, and that's fine and all. But there's other cars I think that that are better in this, which we'll be looking into in a second. This part of the track very interesting to go through in this car, and I didn't really feel very confident in it at all. Curb was a big enemy of this car, but it doesn't matter. Next one. So next up is the Mercedes 190e, continuing in the vein of DTM touring cars. This one from a bit earlier than the Alfa Romeo, and prepare yourself, I'm going to be making a lot of references to race room and comparisons here, because I think that is the main rival in this car. First things first, interior. I couldn't help but look at the rev count and think it looks like it's not a very, I don't know how to explain it. It has too many edges. It's not a very good circle, if that makes sense. That's a really nitpicky thing, but that's the first thing that came to mind when driving this car. Lots of grip in the Mercedes, lots of grip. Very hard to slide and very hard to spin, but I guess that's a good thing. But once you did let go, it was a matter of, oh Jesus Christ, I need to wrestle this wheel now and really try and stop myself from putting it in a wall, as you see there, a little bit of a moment coming off the corner there. Didn't like the sound of it at all. I've got to say, the sound I thought was Gran Turismo-y, but I'm not going to talk about that too much. I'm talking about the car right now. Very positive though. I say the race room 190e is probably a little bit superior in terms of feel and sound, and presentation all round. Probably is just a little bit of a better package, but this isn't bad at all. I think it'd be very fun to race against the BMW as well. A nice little comparison there, a couple of little cars coming together, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to sort of doing that as we go on. Again, to make another comparison to the race room version of this car, I feel that this revs a little bit too high. We're revving at nearly 10,000 RPM. Now, I'm not sure if that's the same for the race room. I probably have to check that out. But I was sort of thinking, when am I changing gear in this thing? I was waiting for the shift down the side, waiting to get that jam into the next gear. I never quite got there in time, but that's how it is. But now, guys, we're going to get your first run down the long, awesome straight. I have no idea how to pronounce that in the top left, so I'm not even going to bother trying. But this felt really cool. Aside from all physics and all driving, coming down the straight here, rocketing down, knowing that this is a laser scan, seeing the castle just out the right of my eye, and plummeting down here. We're doing about 170 mile an hour here, maybe 165. Actually, 170 is probably a little bit too enthusiastic. And then sort of like you wait forever to get this turned into this left-hander here. And this is where the car felt very good. Very heavy steering doing this, as sort of expected. Really fighting the car to get round. Braking was a pain, I've got to say that. Braking very hard down into this section here. But now, guys, we're going to take a look at what I think is the strong point of Assetto Corsa, and that is a road car with the McLaren P1 hybrid. Now, the McLaren P1 is a very, very cool car to drive, very fun. Straight away, you're presented with this very aggressive, futuristic looking cockpit, which makes you just, get that, has that hybrid feel to it already, kind of electric, flashing lights. It's all very sort of techno-y and futuristic almost, and you really get an idea for power in this car. You put your foot down and you sort of hear the turbo spool up behind you. You get a big kick up the backside, and you're plummeting plummeting along at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's all very fun and very immersive, I have to say. Also, this is a flappy paddle car as well, and I really felt like when I was driving this, because I'm using my big rim, my Gran Turismo rim on the T500, I felt like I was a customer on a car. I felt like I was like an amateur driver driving a supercar, which is really cool, because that's pretty much what I am. I'm a sim racing novice, and driving a car that really opens your eyes to sort of how road cars must fit in real life. You see getting up to nearly 200 miles an hour there already, and what I like here is the wiggle trying to break down into third gear. You can't really see it as much, but I'm really trying to get the car slowed down nice and quickly and nice and smoothly. But It's a road car, it's not quite planted, there's sort of a little bit of movement on the brakes and it's fantastic. Down here was brilliant, I was holding onto the wheel for dear life, you know, bouncing off the curves left, right and centre. This was a tricky one, getting through here, because it's very hard to kind of gauge where everything is. I sort of, the sounds in this sounds quite sedate and quite like a McLaren does. You know, McLaren has that sort of very sedate but powerful sound to it, as does this. You know, you really get that impression from this car. You see there it says DRS on the left there. I wasn't quite sure what that meant. Every now and then it sort of a bar comes down to, I think, signify you're using some DRS. Maybe it's automatic, but I couldn't see any change physically to the car. And what I did see, and what I did feel in the wheel, is that the car actually got heavier, so it became almost like it had more downforce, which I think is the opposite of what it's going for. But you know, I don't really understand how that works yet. I did look into it, but I couldn't really find anything that was conclusive, unfortunately. The I-Pass, I think, there on the right is the hybrid. But anyway, let's go back a couple of years now and do something a little bit more, a bit more of a sexy McLaren. And here we are, guys. Welcome back to 1996. We're in a McLaren F1, and what more can you say than that? McLaren F1 GT1, pretty much. Fantastic car to drive, probably my favourite out of the cars that I'm going to show today, and I felt this thing's really positive. I really enjoyed driving it. It's got the H-pattern gearbox as well, and I'm assuming it is an H-pattern in real life, because I couldn't actually use a sequential shifter at all when driving this, which I think is a pretty good indication that it is definitely H-pattern. And this is a car that I feel is best presented as well. Very good sounds, very good interior as well. Exterior is very sexy, and it was just a very positive experience driving this car. I felt very connected to the road when driving around. Felt like I was actually in the car, and you know, you get those moments in sim racing where the blinkers come on and you just concentrate for the lap. That was an example of this. You know, it was very, very, very positive indeed. I don't really have anything to say, you know, for a downside regarding this, other than maybe a tiny bit too much grip again. There is that with Assetto Corsa, there is just a little bit too much grip in the racing cars, but I think this car is probably the best example of, you know, this is the right direction to go in. Please, Kunos, do this. Do more of this. You actually make the right hander this time, just about. So, I keep saying the word positive because that's what I feel about it. I felt genuinely immersed when driving this car. With the brake basher mod that I've got installed now, braking is so much more of a challenge, it's so much more of a hard effort as opposed to just the brake going straight to the floor as soon as you touch it. And it really is very rewarding to get this car put into a corner and you know, having it stick the way you feel it should, or the way you want it to. I can understand it being a little bit easier to drive, maybe for the consumer audience, but that's how it goes. But anyway, guys, we're going to now go on to the hardest car to drive and the fastest car that come along in this, the Sauber C9. But here it is, guys, 750 horsepower of untamed Group C madness, the Sauber Mercedes C9, and wow, what a challenge this thing was to drive. I think that a lot of people, including myself, have been waiting for a decent version of this car anywhere. And I've got to say, Kunos have delivered. It is a good car, it is a very good feeling as well. Again, another H-pattern car, so I'm happy. You know how I love my H-patterns and my heel and toe as things go, but you can see just how much power this thing has. I'm going through this kind of last sector here, kind of pussyfooting my way through in third gear, just trying to make sure I don't spin it. There's a couple of times where I probably should shift it down to second, but just for the sake of the video, I wanted to try and get around that. I almost lose it out the ice curve there. But what a fantastic car. The sound is pretty brutal. Again, it lacks that sort of rawness that I think a lot of games need, but I'm not gonna linger on that too much, because the way the car drives is just, it's really good. It is very, very good indeed, and it's probably my second favourite car in the I say in the mod. I'm so used to saying that, in the pack after the McLaren. I was so lucky through there. You know, the steering's heavy. It feels like an old brutish race car, which is exactly what it is. And it'd be pretty fun to compare this to the 787B mod that I think I reviewed a couple of weeks ago or months ago. I have no idea how long ago that was now. Just to, you know, get an idea of how the two compare. What I'm going to do now, though, guys, is I'm going to go quiet for a bit and let you enjoy this thing go down the straight at a million billion miles an hour. Now the last thing I want to talk about in this video, and that is the Nordschleife itself. Now, what can I say? This is the first time we've had anything like this in any sort of sim. We have a laser scanned version of probably the most famous track in the world, and I have to say it is fantastic. There's no other word for it. I mean, the money you pay for the Dream Pack alone is worth it just for the Nordschleife, and I will emphasise that again. You could probably charge double that and still be worth what this track is to sim racing. It is fantastically mapped. I mean, there are so many bumps and grooves and, you know, kind of elevation changes that I just didn't know existed before driving this, and it's so fantastic to drive around in all these brilliant cars and feel all that. I mean, I mentioned it earlier, it's like the same track but it's completely different. I know where all the corners go, I know what they do, but you have such a different way of approaching them now. You have to treat it with respect, and it's such a long course, such a fantastic challenge, and now we have that challenge almost, you know, we're getting closer and closer to what is real life in sim racing now. And, you know, you can argue I should be this excited with, you know, other tracks in like an iRacing where they're laser scans and all, but it's a Nordschleife. You know, it's a massive deal. As the car lovers everywhere, going here, conquering it is, you know, a tick on the bucket list. It's one of mine, definitely. I want to go and do this at some point in my life, and I feel like I could use this to accurately learn the track. It's that detailed, guys. If you have a Assetto Corsa, and I know I mean to it a lot, go and get this pack and just drive it. Drive it. Don't have any music on. Don't have any HUD on. Just sit there, headphones on full, and drive it and enjoy it. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.